So today's yoga practice is going to be done on the floor, so on the back. So nice and gentle movements for the hips, the lower back, and a little bit through the spine. So you might want a yoga mat. If you don't have a yoga mat, just lay down a blanket folded a little longer, a little wider than your body. Okay, let's start on the back. You might want a couple yoga blocks as well if you have them handy. All right, so just begin with your feet flat on the ground, so your knees are bent, nice and comfortable. So wiggle around and, feel free to even just lift and slide your shoulder blades down the back a little bit more. And notice the position of your head. So often when we lie back, our head is like this up. So feel free, if you need to have a pillow under your head, you're welcome to use that. Just try to keep the pillow as small as you comfortably can let it. Otherwise, see if you can lift the head and just lower the chin slightly more so that it's not quite as high as the forehead. Okay, and that'll bring you a little more length into the back of the neck. And then place one hand on the upper abdomen just below the ribs and the other hand on the lower belly just below the navel. Relax there into the arms. Close your eyes for a few moments here, and we're just going to tune in to the natural rhythm and flow of the breath. So as you let yourself just continue to breathe naturally, there's no need to change the breath, no need to force it to be deeper or bigger or slower or faster. And instead, just pay attention to the breath. So that as you inhale, you're aware of the inhale. And as you exhale, you're aware of the exhale. So with your hands on your belly here, it's a little easier to feel the movement of the breath in your body. So notice how your belly moves as you inhale. And notice how your belly moves as you exhale. And again, just noticing and feeling however much or however little movement you notice. So there's no need to change it. And as you're here, you might also come across areas of tension in the body. You might notice that the shoulders are tense and lifted up from the ground. So see if you can relax and rest them down into the mat or towards the floor. And you might also feel some tension in the belly, a sense of holding there. So little by little, as you come across any areas of holding, any areas of tension, see if you can invite a little more softness in, giving your body permission to relax. And the more your body can relax, the more your breath can find a steadier rhythm. A calmer pace. And you're giving your mind the chance to connect with your body, to let go of any distractions momentarily. And then with your next exhale, bring one knee in towards your chest, and then the other knee in towards your chest, and take your hands on the knees and just give them a gentle squeeze in towards the chest. So you feel maybe a little bit of a stretch here into your back. And then we're going to move the knees with the breath. So you want to take the hands so that the fingers face the toes. You're not interlacing the fingers, one hand on each knee. And as you breathe in, let the knees move forward so the arms straighten more. And as you exhale, draw the knees in and close again, almost like you're hugging out the breath. So each inhale, knees go forward, so you're making space for the expansion of the lungs and the belly. And each exhale, knees come back in with as you let out all the breath. Let's keep it going at your own pace, following the breath's rhythm. And you'll notice you're giving yourself a bit of a massage as well into your lower back. You might feel areas of tightness or tension, so just move within your own range of motion that feels comfortable. And then with the next exhale, as you hug the knees in, let's keep them in close. And then just start by doing a little gentle rock of the knees side to side. So that way you're just bringing the weight over to the one side of the back and then the other side, and massaging more along the width of your back now. And then you can let this movement become circular, so let the knees move forward on the inhale, let the knees hug in with the exhale. And again, just keep it at a rhythm that makes sense to you, where you're staying conscious of the breath, conscious of the movement that you feel in your body, and feeling the sensation of the movement, the massage, the stretch. And then take it in the other direction for a few breaths. So keep the knees together so that you're massaging more into the lower back here. Okay, and then bring your knees back in. And we're going to find a little bit of movement through the legs and the arms now. So on your inhale, you're going to stretch up through the legs towards the ceiling as much as your legs let you go. So you're only straightening the legs as far as you can go without pain, and then taking the arms overhead at the same time. On your exhale, you're going to bend the knees again and hug them back into the chest. So each inhale, stretch up through the legs, stretch back with the arms. Each exhale, point your toes, hug your knees in. So we can find some movement in the ankles here. Each inhale, stretch through the heels up, arms back. Exhale, point the toes, hug the knees in. And go for that a few more times, and just be aware of whether the movement of the arms is tensing up into the neck, and see if you can keep your neck relaxed as you find this gentle movement in the shoulders. And again, your legs might not straighten as much as mine. Perfectly fine. Your legs might not come as close towards the head when they lift. They might be more out like this. Totally fine. Okay, so you're exploring your range of motion in the legs, the hips, the shoulders, all the while keeping the neck and the head resting on the floor. Okay, and then with this next exhale, let's hold the left knee in, and we're going to straighten the right leg along the ground. So this is a good stretch. You might feel already into the front of that right hip. And then you can actually let go of that left knee now and just let the arms relax. So you can find a more circular movement now into the hip joint. So rather than letting the whole pelvis like tilt around with you like this, you want to see if you can keep your pelvis fairly still here with some support into the belly. And find the movement more purely from your hip joint. So this movement can be small circles. It's always nice to kind of start the movement nice and small, and then you can make it a little bit larger if that's feeling comfortable, until it's at your full comfortable range of motion in the hip. And then pause and go in the opposite direction, circling the other way. So you want to make sure that you're drawing this circle. Imagine you're drawing a circle with your knee on the ceiling above you. So it's not about circling like this. You're not circling with your foot. You're circling with your knee so that you feel the movement into your hip. Okay. And then next time, bring the knee in. We're going to hold on to this knee with the right hand. This is when a block might come in handy. It's really not necessary. So don't feel like you can't do this without a block. Okay? So take the left arm out to the ground. I've got the palm facing up as my arm is relaxed on the floor. So it's not perfectly straight. My elbow's a little bent. And I'm going to guide myself over onto the right hip so that I can feel it a little more into my back. So what I've done is I've brought my left hip above my right hip. And you can rest your knee or your lower leg on that block if you've got one, or a bolster or a pillow. And if you don't have anything, if it's feeling uncomfortable to just kind of hang out in space, if your foot doesn't get to the ground or the knee, don't force the knee down because that'll just lift the opposite shoulder. Okay, so just be aware of that. You want to try to keep that left shoulder as close to the ground as it can stay while the knee goes in the opposite direction. So you're going to feel this stretch into, maybe the back, the hips, the outer glute, buttock area, and along the outer thigh. You might also feel it in that left shoulder. Okay, so if your foot can get to the floor, just my big toe lands comfortably on the ground. This gives me a nice stretch along the outer hip. If that doesn't feel comfortable though, you can just keep your foot rested on your bottom thigh. Okay. So let the head turn a little bit. If it's comfortable in the neck, turn the head in the opposite direction of this knee. So you're turning the head to the left. And then while you're here, just spend a couple moments feeling each breath. Here you've got lots of space between the left shoulder and the left hip. So you might be able to just notice the movement of the breath there a little more. Okay, and then breathe in, come back to center, onto your back, and just get comfortable, get centered on your mat again, wiggle around, get loose, and then let's bring the right knee in. Stretch the left leg down along the ground, and with that left leg staying straight, we can relax the arms and just circle now into this right hip. Okay, so I'm drawing a circle with my knee, not my foot. Finding the movement in the hip joint, trying to minimize the rocking of the pelvis side to side so that I'm finding a little bit of core strength here as well. And each hip feels different. You'll notice that pretty quickly, possibly. So go in the opposite direction now, taking that movement nice and slow as you stay conscious of the breath and feel what you're moving. Okay, and then hold on to that knee with your left hand. So try to keep the knee up at around hip height or even a little closer to the chest, but not down below. And then resting the right arm now. So the right arm comes to the floor, palm facing up as it rests on the ground. My elbow's a little bent. The arm can be low, doesn't have to be up here. Okay, do what feels good in the shoulder. And then what we're going to do is try to roll now onto the left hip. So you can see I'm stacking my right hip above the left hip. And I'm rolling onto that left side just from the hip down while I keep my upper back on the floor. So trying to let that right shoulder stay on the ground. It's going to be up a little bit if you're finding some tension along that side. That's okay. You just want to encourage it to relax towards the floor. Okay. And yeah, you can let the head turn now to the right a little bit. Right foot might get to the floor. If not, keep the foot on your lower leg, okay? If that feels more comfortable. So any of these options, perfectly fine. If the head turning to the right isn't comfortable in the neck, of course, just keep it where it is more comfortable. Now we've got a lot of space between the right hip and the right shoulder. So notice the breath moving into there. Notice how it feels on this side. You might feel it more into the hip, or you might feel it more into your back on this side. You can see that I've kept my left hand on that right thigh, just a gentle weight on the thigh, or you can even feel free to massage a little bit with your fingertips while you're here along the outer thigh from the hip to the knee. You'll encounter some tight spots, no doubt. Okay, and then when you're ready, slowly come onto the back again and get comfortable. Okay. So now we're gonna do a little bit of movement with the breath through pelvic tilt movement. So the bum's gonna stay on the ground. I'm gonna take my arms out like this just so you can see what's going on with my spine. You can do the same if it's comfortable. If it's not comfortable, the arms can come out more like a V down here, or even by your sides like this, okay? So I'm gonna take my arms up. And with the feet flat on the floor, about in line with the hips. So you want some distance between the feet and the knees, about hip distance apart. Okay, so it's not much. All right. Now, let the head relax in the center. And with the inhale, what you're going to do is let the pelvis tilt forward. So that means the tailbone's going to point down and the lower back here is going to arc away from the floor a little bit. And then on the exhale, you're going to tilt the pelvis back so the lower back flattens down towards the floor. It might not flatten completely, and that's okay. So let the inhale rise the belly. Fill the lungs, tailbone down. Feel the exhale, hugging in and up through the belly a little bit to flatten the lower back towards the floor. And try to let this movement be nice and fluid so there's no jerkiness to the movement. It's just kind of one continuous movement flowing into the other. And as you're doing this movement, try to let it be powered by the breath and by some strength in the belly. So you don't want to clench the buttocks here, especially on the exhale, right? When we flatten the lower back down and kind of curl the tailbone up. You don't want to go to the point where you're squeezing the glutes to lift the bum, so you're really not lifting the bum at all. You're pressing, you're moving forward with the inhale, tailbone down, and you're hugging up and in with the exhale. Tailbone curls up just slightly. It's more about finding this little bit of movement that massages the lower back beautifully. You're moving. You might notice actually the movement all the way up through the spine. So if you stay nice and relaxed in the shoulders and in the neck, you'll be able to feel the movement all the way up into the neck. And you'll feel little shifts of weight into the back of the head. So just try to feel and notice this wave, this ripple that travels up the whole spine, all by the movement, initiated by the movement of your pelvis, rocking forward and back as you breathe. Don't worry so much about when you're inhaling or when you're exhaling. If you're finding a different pattern that makes more sense to you, feel free to do that. For me, I'm inhaling as my lower back arches away. My belly fills, tailbone points down, and then on the exhale, I'm flattening the lower back towards the floor. So keep that movement going at your own pace, and we're going to add on to it with a bit of movement up into bridge position. So you're going to want to take your arms down beside you so that your palms are down into the floor. We're going to find a bit of strength and support through the hands. So spread the fingers gently, feel the support into the palms, and then at the same time as your hands connect with the floor, do your best to kind of press down through the upper arms. You can even lift and slide the shoulder blades a wee bit down the back in order to find a little more support into the back, a little more contact with the mat. So here, breathing in, tilting the pelvis forward, And on your exhale, what you're going to do is slowly peel the spine up from the ground by standing into the feet and lifting the tailbone up and peeling the rest of the spine up nice and slow, only lifting to a height that feels comfortable, especially in the neck, keeping it in mind. As you breathe in, stay here. And then let the exhale roll you back down. So you're rolling your spine down from the top of the spine, down through each vertebra, through the lower back last. Once you're down, you let the inhale tilt the pelvis forward again. Exhale, hugging up and in through the belly, tailbone curls up towards the knees as the rest of the spine lifts. Stay for the inhale. And feel your exhale bring you back down. Going slowly. Stay on the floor for the inhale, so the pelvis rocks forward. And on the exhale, you're hugging up and in through the belly, pushing through the feet, standing into the legs to lift the hips, the low back, maybe some of the lower ribs, staying here for the inhale. And again, on the exhale, rolling down nice and slowly. So let's go for one more of those full movements. Let the inhale shift the pelvis forward, lower back arches away. And then let the exhale peel the spine up from the tailbone, through the low back, middle back, all the way up into bridge, staying here for the inhale. And then let the exhale bring you back down nice and slowly. The full length of the exhale brings you back to the ground. One more half one. Breathing in, breathing out. Stand into the feet, curl the tailbone up. And we're going to pause up here in bridge. So just make sure that you haven't scrunched into the front of your chest or the front of your throat. So you're going to need to bring your chin maybe a little bit up, slightly away from the chest. Okay, so that's going to keep a little more of that curve in the back of the neck. If it feels too much, don't go up quite as high. Okay, if you feel any discomfort in the neck. And then find a little more of the support in the arms. So press into the palms, press down through the shoulders, and you might feel a little bit more lift in the chest. Press into the feet. I like to just lift and spread my toes once I'm up here and maybe feel my feet better, and so I can press down into all four corners of the feet, through the balls of the big toes and the inner heels, and then across to the outer heels and up to the baby toes. So finding that contact through the feet will fire up the legs a little more, so you can sense your thighs kind of pointing straight ahead, parallel with each other, in line with the hips. Feel another full breath right here. And then again, on your next exhale, try to bring it down super slow. Imagine your spine like a chain. You're bringing down one link at a time, one vertebra at a time. Finding some of the support there through the core. And then once you're down, just relax. Arms, let them come a little bit away from your sides. So further out from your sides, out like a V from the shoulders, okay? Walk your feet wider apart, almost mat width apart, at least kind of shoulder width apart. You can go a little wider if you like. We're going to do a nice windshield wiper movement. So what you're going to do is let your knees go to the right as the head turns to the left. And you can do this with the breath. Inhale, center. Exhale, let the knees fall to the left. Head rolls to the right. So you're just letting the head roll here. Breathing in to center. Exhale, knees to the right. Head rolls to the left. And just keep it going. And you'll notice as you let your knees fall all the way to one side, your opposite hip is going to lift. So let that happen. This is bringing a bit of twist again into the spine, but it's also a great way to just massage a little bit into the glute muscles and to find a little bit of movement into the hips. And of course, loosening into the neck. So let's go for one more on each side. Feel free to pause on either side too. If you notice a good stretch there, maybe let's just end with a bit of a pause on this right side. So you can feel like your left knee presses down just gently towards that opposite foot, and you'll feel maybe a little bit more of a stretch through that front left hip or thigh area. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, let the knees fall to the left. Head rolls to the right. And feel how it is on this side. You might notice the stretch coming into the front of that right hip, the outer thigh, the outer hip. Notice wherever it is for you. And then breathe in, come on back up. Hug the knees back into your chest. And I think we'll leave it at that today. So thanks so much for joining me. And until tomorrow, have a wonderful day.